All right, you guys. Well, welcome to this fun little intro video. I was planning on, I'm going to make sure my face is, sorry, let me find speaker view here. There we go. Is my face like the big part? Okay, cool. So I was planning on like doing my hair and making myself look a little more presentable, but that didn't happen. So you're gonna have to deal with my sweaty hair and for my workout this morning. But I'm so glad to have you guys hopping on this afternoon, I guess. I'm stoked for our boot camp to start on Monday, and we're gonna get through this real quick so we don't waste everybody's time, but I want everybody to be on the same page and give you a chance to ask some questions, because I know for many of you this is a very new thing, and I want to make sure that you understand and don't feel too overwhelmed before we get going on things. So I've been carb cycling for the past, 4 or 5 months now. And before I launched my own programs, I wanted to kind of experiment with it a little bit myself. Initially, I was a little bit overwhelmed by the whole idea because in my head, it was something like what bikini competitors did, and it was like super intense and intimidating to me. But my program is not that extreme. We're doing it on a much lower level to make it work with your lifestyle and still give you good maximum and awesome results. So really, in essence, carb cycling is we're pairing our workouts with our eating. And my goal here is to teach you guys how to eat and exercise smarter and not necessarily be over exercising or not eating enough. A lot of my clients in the past have come to me, and when we start tracking things, they're like, oh my goodness, I didn't realize I was not eating enough calories. I wasn't eating enough carbohydrates. And then when they get started and going on things, they realize they feel so much more energetic, they're stronger, they get better results than they ever have. And so my goal for you is to not necessarily like yes, the number on the scale is important, but my main goal for you is to feel your best and to have more energy and to just feel confident. That is my end goal. So we're going to go into a few things here. I have my notes here. So first of all, I did post a document in our group yesterday. Let me pull that up really quick. That gives the schedule, our weekly schedule. I'm going to go through each of the days really quick. So we're going to maintain the same schedule each week. Now, I know a few of you have special circumstances. Maybe you teach group fitness or you work a job that requires long days. We can absolutely tweak the schedule for you. But and I know some weeks will be a little bit tough for some people, so you might have to tweak some things. But generally speaking, I would like you to try your best to stick to this schedule. And the reason being is just because it's nice to have us all on the same page and be able to encourage each other if we're all on the same day, if that makes sense. So I'm pulling up this, our schedule real quick. We're going to go through it. So Monday is our regular calorie day. So you'll notice that the higher carb days, which are regular calorie days and feast days, are paired with full body strength workouts. And that's to fuel the muscles and help us increase our strength and build muscle tone. So Monday is our regular calorie day. We're eating real whole foods. Sorry, text message. Our macro breakdown is 50% carbs, 20% protein, and 30% fat. And so that might seem at first like it's more carbs than what some of you may be used to, but let me assure you that it's worth it, and you'll see the benefit in it as we go on, because we need carbs for energy and to strengthen and grow our muscles. And I think a lot of people in the health and fitness world have been trained that a low carb diet is the way to go. And that's truly why I love carb cycling, because we get the results of a full low carb diet, but we're not eating low carb all the time. So then we go into Tuesday, which is a low carb day. And we are pairing that low carb day with our sprints. So the purpose of that is to break down our glycogen stores. And then when we go into our when we do our sprints, our body will feed off of the fat rather than the carbs because we're not feeding our body a bunch of carbs on low carb days. So our goal on low carb day is to eat fewer than 50 grams of net carbs. If you are a breastfeeding mom, please modify. We're going to go 100 grams of net carbs for breastfeeding moms. So this day might be a little tough for some people, but your main focus is protein and healthy fats and lots of fibrous veggies. And so the first couple weeks might be a little bit challenging for you, but you will get the hang of it. Your body will get the hang of it and you'll understand. So we're not really focusing necessarily on the percentages of our macronutrients on low carb days. Your main goal is the grams of net carbs. Your net carbs, so this is super important, your net carbs are your carbohydrate intake minus your dietary fiber, which I'll show you how to figure that out in just a minute. But take note of that. So basically, the more fiber you eat, it helps balance out your net carb intake. All right, so then we're moving on to back to a regular calorie day with a full body workout on Wednesday. So same thing as Monday, different workout, but same idea. And then Thursday, we have a low calorie day, which is our rest day. We do rest days on Thursdays and Sundays. And low calorie days, we're having the same macro counts as our regular calorie day, but we're doing a lower calorie intake. So we're reducing our regular calorie intake by 25%. And it might seem a little bit low for some of you, but because you're resting and you will have a high carb, high calorie day before your low calorie days, you should have plenty of reserves of calories and energy for your low calorie days. We can go into this as we start, but it might also help to shorten your feeding window a little bit. So what I mean by that is start eating a little bit later in the day, like not super late, but around 9 or 10 a.m. rather than right when you wake up in the morning. And that will kind of help you keep your low calorie day lower. And so that's low calorie day. And then finally, we're going to talk about feast day here. So feast day will be on Saturdays. Feast day is awesome. You guys will actually be surprised, like how it's kind of hard to eat this many calories. But this is not a cheat day. So take note of that. This is different than a cheat day. We're still eating healthy foods, but we are eating 50% more calories than regular calorie day. So if your regular calorie day is 2,000 calories, you're aiming for 3,000 calories, which I know might seem like a lot, but remember we're balancing out with those low calorie days, and we're going to have an intense full body workout that day to burn some calories and burn off some of that energy. So my number one rule here is to eat until you're 80% full. I don't want you guys eating to the point of discomfort and you're like stuffing yourself. So that number, the 50% more calories, that is your goal. But if you for some reason can't get to that, don't freak out. I don't want you stuffing yourself. Just eat till you're 80% full and then stop. It does help to kind of snack throughout the day and get in more calories. I don't recommend getting in all your calories and waiting till the end of the day, because then you will feel stuffed and you won't reach your calorie goal. So we're gonna stop there real quick. Does anybody have questions about any of the specific days? Take note of the chat feature down below, and feel free to type in a question if you have a question. I will be doing a little Q&A session at the end as well if anybody has questions. Okay, awesome. Okay, so we'll start there. And then I wanted to, we have a couple questions. How do we know our calorie goals? I will get to that in just a second. On low carb days, do we increase the amount of fat we eat? Not necessarily. You'll actually use your healthy fats for your energy on low carb days. So your fat intake will be a lot higher than what you might be used to. But they will be healthy fats. And so we actually benefit a lot from healthy fats for hormonal function, brain development. And so we don't want to limit the amount of fat we eat. It will be higher though. Yes. Sorry. I think I read your question wrong. You will have a higher intake of fat on low carb days. So, so your pie graph for your macronutrients, which I'll show you in a second on my Fitness Pal, will be small for low carbs, and there'll be a lot of fats and protein. So yeah, good question. Okay. Well, I'm going to move on. I wanted to address gluten and dairy really quick because I've had some people ask me about that. So this is my rule for gluten and dairy. I am never one to like totally cut out food groups, but I would like us to focus on limiting dairy and gluten. Both of those can cause discomfort and bloating in our digestive system, because really gluten is processed wheat, and dairy, while some of it's yummy, and let me tell you, I love my yogurt and I love my ice cream, too much of it can not do the body well. And so, because let's be real, milk is for cows. And so I would try to like sub, almond milk for cow's milk if you can. The occasional, cottage cheese, Greek yogurt, whatever, like that's fine. I understand. And I'm not a fan of like vegan cheese. And so I'm all about real cheese. So if you like, the occasional dairy is okay, but just be aware of it and try to keep that on the lower end, because I don't want you feeling bloated and uncomfortable, if that makes sense. So that's kind of my rule for gluten and dairy. Keep it to a minimum if possible. Another thing is we are practicing low sugar on this program. Trust me, I love my sugar, but we, the goal is to get our results. And so if we're going to be including a bunch of sugar in there, we're not going to get our results. So I want us to try our best to keep our sugar intake at a minimum. Natural sugars are okay. So sugars from fruits and that sort of thing, totally fine. But extra processed sugar is a no-no. Try to stay with that approved food list that I posted in our group. If you have any questions about that, let me know. And then so in normal life, when you're not going through a boot camp, I'm very much of an advocate of the 80-20 rule, which promotes healthy eating 80% of the time, 20% of the time you have some room for indulgences. In this boot camp, I promote more of the 90-10 rule. So we're going to tighten up a little bit, get a little bit more strict. If you want the occasional glass of wine or you want the occasional little piece of dark chocolate, okay, but keep that to a minimum. So just be aware of that. I mean, I obviously understand like this is real life. So sometimes you just need a glass of wine. And so just be aware of that. We're keeping all of that to a minimum though. Okay, so I'm going to go over my Fitness Pal really quick. We are using my Fitness Pal to determine our calorie intake. So everybody log into my Fitness Pal if you have it downloaded, hopefully, and I will share how we're going to be using this. Okay, so this is going to help us determine our calorie goals because everyone is different. And so we all have different goals. We all, live a different lifestyle. So this will help. So if you go into your app, you'll see this. You're going to click on the 3 dots down at the bottom that says more. All right, so first we're gonna go to goals. So it's 3 little lines down, click goals. So go ahead and put your current weight in and then put your goal weight in. I'd like you to be realistic here, okay? And then also your weekly goal. Do you wanna maintain weight? Maybe you just wanna build some muscle or tone up or burn some fat, but you wanna stay the same weight. Do you wanna lose a little weight? Do you wanna gain a little weight? Whatever your goal is, put that in there. I don't want you to be over losing 1.5 pounds per week. We're all fairly healthy, fit individuals. And so more than that is too much. So we're doing this in a healthy way, remember. So if it puts your regular calorie day at 1,500 calories, or no, I'm sorry, less than 1,500 calories, then we need to do some adjusting in your goals, if that makes sense. So, and then also you'll want to go for your activity level, start with lightly active, okay? So we're doing all of this, and then it'll spit out your calorie goals. So if you go back to your main page, the goal at the top, that's your calorie goal. So mine is 1,920 calories. So that is my regular calorie day intake of calories. Okay, if that number is less than 1,500 calories, please make sure you tweak your goals a little bit to make sure it's above 1,500 calories, just because I don't want you going quite that low. Okay, it is okay if your low calorie days are lower than that number. That is okay, because we're only doing it twice a week and you're not exercising on those days. So that is what we're doing for regular calorie day. Do we need to add calories on MyFitnessPal for breastfeeding? Yeah, so that's a really good question. I would add, it depends on how often you're breastfeeding. If you have like a baby that's exclusively breastfeeding with no baby food or formula, then you'll probably want to add 300 to 400 calories to your intake. If you are only breastfeeding your baby a few times a day, I would add a couple hundred calories to your intake. I don't know if there's a manual way to do that on MyFitnessPal, but I just, in my head, I add 200 calories onto 1,920 calories, if that makes sense. So my regular calorie day is 2,120 calories, because I'm still nursing, but only 3 or 4 times a day, if that makes sense. So yeah, good question. Okay, so next step, when you go to, so go to diary at the bottom here, and then you'll scroll down, and this is actually where you're going to enter in your food. Okay, but when you scroll down, you're going to click on nutrition, and it's going to pull up a pie graph for you, which obviously I haven't logged any of my food today, but this is your pie graph, and your goals for each macronutrient, carbs, fat, and protein, are right here. So your goals for regular calorie day, as well as feast day, as well as low calorie day, are 50% carbs, 30% fat, and 20% protein. So you want to hit those macronutrients on those days. Now, this is where it gets important. For low carb day, we're not paying attention to those percentages. We're paying attention to our net grams of carbs. So to determine that, you're going to go to nutrients right here. Okay, and you'll see your carbohydrate intake, the grams, and then right underneath that, you'll see your fiber intake, also in grams. So to determine your net carbs, you're going to take your carbohydrate minus your fiber. Okay, and that will give you your net carbs. So your goal is to focus primarily on that for low carb day, and make sure your net carbs stay 50 grams or lower if you are not breastfeeding. So you will notice for low carb days especially, it helps to plan ahead. So what I mean by that is enter in all your food before you even eat it, and make some tweaks throughout the day if you need to, because that will help you a lot, especially in the first week or two as you're planning. Oh, that's great to know. So someone says you can add nursing as an exercise and manually input the calories, so we'll add more to your day. That's great to know. So for breastfeeding moms, take note of that. So MyFitnessPal, let me think if there's anything else for MyFitnessPal. So you will log your food each day. At the end of each day in our thread, because each day I will post in our group, and each day at the end of the day, you are required to post a screenshot of this macronutrient pie graph, okay? And so that's for accountability, and just so I can help you, because if you're not sharing with me what you're doing, I can't help you. So do we eat the same number of calories on low carb days? Excellent question. Yes, you do. So you're still eating. So on low carb day, for example, I'm still eating 2,120 calories on my low carb day, but my calories will be coming from protein and fats primarily, rather than more carbs. Yes, great question. Okay, any questions about MyFitnessPal? I know that can be a little bit confusing, especially if you've not used MyFitnessPal before. Use the next couple days to kind of play around with it and experiment, maybe even log your food for the next couple days just so you can get the hang of it. There is an option that you can add in your recipes or meals to make it easier if you eat the same things regularly. So great question so far. Okay, so if you guys think of any other questions. Do we add the exercise into MyFitnessPal? Another great question. No, we're not adding exercise to MyFitnessPal, so don't worry about that. Just focus on your food intake for MyFitnessPal. Great question. All right. Okay, so I'm going to keep moving on. If you guys think of more questions, feel free to type in the chat box. Okay, I'm going to go over workouts really quick. So you don't need a gym for these workouts. You are able to do them at the gym if you would like. You simply need a medium to heavy set of dumbbells, a jump rope if you would like. The jump rope is helpful if you, like for your sprints, if you can't do them outside or you don't have access to a gym or a treadmill, you can do jump ropes for your sprint intervals. Otherwise, that's pretty much it. You don't need a whole lot of equipment other than some good weights. As you go through the first week or two, if you feel like your weights aren't heavy enough, please get some heavier weights, to give you those max results. We want to make sure that we're working those muscles to a point of fatigue by the time we're done with our workouts. So if you feel like your muscles aren't fatigued by the end of an exercise, you'll want to increase your weights. Our rest days are super important, okay? So people ask me all the time, can I do yoga on rest days? Can I take a walk on rest days? Yes. Low activity is okay, but I really want you to keep your heart rate down and just let your body rest. So my goal here, like I said, is for you to exercise smarter. So we are hitting it hard on our workout days and really enjoying our rest days. Because those rest days are just as important as our workout days to help our muscles repair themselves and rebuild themselves. As far as sprints go, like I said, if you are not able to get outside and run your sprints or you don't have access to a treadmill, feel free to, like I said, use the jump rope. You can also do like high knees or jumping jacks and just do the intervals that I've posted. As long as you're getting your heart rate up and it's high intensity during those work phases, that's totally fine. All right. Couple more questions here. I'll answer those really quick. Should we limit starchy carbs at our last meal? It depends on what day it is. So if you are on a feast day or a regular calorie day, it just kind of depends on where you're at with your carb intake. I don't really place a huge emphasis on timing regarding your eating other than low carb day if you're wanting to shorten that feeding window. But beyond that, like feel free to eat your carbs whenever you'd like. Actually, some people like to eat more of their carbs on feast day and regular calorie day the second half of the day because sometimes carbs make them tired. So that's something that you could do, but it's not mandatory. It's really up to you. On low carb days, what protein to fat ratio should we aim for? Yeah, good question. Ideally, if you're looking at that pie graph, they should be split perfectly. That's ideal. But it's okay if a lot of the times people's fat count will be higher than their protein count, and that's okay. But we're not placing as much emphasis on the percentages of your fat and protein intake on low carb days. I really just want you to focus on keeping those carbs under 50 grams of net carbs. So yeah, good question. And, I keep talking about carbs, and some of my favorite carbs that are gluten-free, just to give you some ideas, rice, quinoa, sweet potatoes or starchy vegetables, oatmeal, all of these are great starchy carbs. Like mangoes, fruit in general are high in carbs. And so you'll notice that like low carb days, you probably won't want to eat a whole lot of fruit because you'll be surprised at how high in carbs fruit is. So you'll learn. The first week or two, I really want you to recognize that I consider it kind of a trial week or two. So the first week or two, you might be feeling a little bit discouraged at times, feeling a little bit like, oh man, this is tough. And you know what? That's totally normal, totally normal. Give yourself some grace the first week or two. I recognize that this is a change for a lot of you. And any change that we make to our lifestyle can be a little bit hard at first. But once you get into the groove, it'll actually come very naturally. And we are in week 5 of my last round. And a lot of the girls are like, I love this. Like, I want to make this my lifestyle, because their body just has kind of adjusted to a higher carb intake on their full body workout days and a lower carb intake on their sprint days. And it really just makes sense to have more carbs when we're working out at a higher intensity with weights. So give yourself some grace the first week or two. I totally recognize it's a trial week. And so just be aware of that as well. Okay, and then my last couple things, I have a couple little rules. I'm not a mean person, I promise, but I do want to establish a few rules in our group just to make it a positive place, and so that you get the best results and benefits possible. So engaging and posting in the group is super important. The community and accountability that we provide one another is so helpful and will help us reach our goals. And so I really want to encourage you to please, require you to post each day, at the end of each day, that macronutrient pie graph. If you are out of town or something comes up or you just have a crazy day, I totally understand. Feel free to just shoot me a little personal message and just say, hey, it's been a rough week or whatever. And I understand. Things happen, life happens. But please try your best to post at the end of each day. Or if you don't get to it at the end of the day, do it first thing in the morning. That's totally fine too. I would just encourage you to encourage other people in your group and just uplift each other, because you will be surprised at how much it helps. And then negativity is not allowed. So I understand, especially the first week or two, sometimes it might be a little tough at times, but I'm going to say this time and time again, trust the process. Trust me. I've been doing this for a few months now, and it did feel a little uncomfortable at first because it's new and it's a change, but trust the process and try to be positive and uplift each other. Third rule is don't weigh yourself throughout the challenge or throughout the group, because a higher amount of carb intake will cause you to hold on to some water weight at some points. And then sometimes on low carb days, your sodium intake might be a little bit higher, which can also cause you to hold on to water weight. So please don't weigh yourself throughout the challenge. Let's just wait till the end. Just because I don't want you getting discouraged. And really, that number on the scale, who really cares, as long as you're feeling good and feeling confident in your clothes, right? So our goal here is to burn fat and build muscle. That's our end goal. Along those lines, I want you to make sure that you're taking measurements before we get started on Monday. So we're going to do before and after measurements. So this is the last time you're going to step on the scale for the next 6 weeks until we're finished, okay? So you're going to weigh yourself. You're going to take before and after photos as well. So I would recommend taking a photo like in your swimming suit or your bra and underwear. You don't have to post it to the group. You can keep it to yourself if you'd like. There will be an opportunity at the end if you would like to share it with us. That's totally awesome. I love celebrating and everybody's successes. But I would take a picture from the front and then the side, and then you can also do the back if you'd like. And then I would also want you to take measurements with a measuring tape. So you'll want to do, I'm going to show you really quick. You'll want to do your biceps right here, okay? You want to do your chest, so right here, got a boob shot. And then your waist, so right here, and your hips, right here. And then you'll do your thighs as well, right around the thickest part of your thighs. And so write those down, and then we'll do those measurements again at the finish to see your results. All right, so we're gonna finish there. Do we have any other questions? I'm gonna go back to our Facebook thread and see if I have any other questions that I missed here. What is the best way to incorporate running into this program? Are there certain days of the week that would be more effective to run on? Yeah, great question. I know we have some runners in this group. So it depends on how much you're running. If you're doing a shorter run, I would encourage you to do your sprints. Sprints are only like 10 or 15 minutes long, and then do your shorter run after your sprints. And then if you're doing a longer run, I would try your best to do it on feast day, and still try to do your best to get your full body strength workout in as well. So yeah, great question. What kind of protein powder is good? Okay, so my 2 favorite kinds of protein powder. Yes, and if you're a vegetarian and you're in this group, And even if you're not a vegetarian, but I find that especially vegetarians, it helps to find a good protein powder, especially on low carb days. So my favorites are Les Mills Good Protein, and then Beachbody Performance Recovery is what it's called in chocolate. Those are my two favorites. I rotate between those two, and they're a little bit more pricey, but it's because they're quality and they're all natural. A lot of protein powders are filled with artificial ingredients and a bunch of artificial fillers, and so they're quality. So if you have questions about purchasing those or needing to know where to purchase them, feel free to just message me on Facebook and I can direct you there. Let me see what questions we have. Okay, let's see. Are whole wheat wraps and pasta allowed as long as they are clean ingredients? Yeah, and that kind of goes back to the gluten rule. Whole wheat wraps and pasta are considered gluten unless you get gluten-free varieties. So I would recommend sticking to the gluten-free varieties, but the occasional whole wheat wrap or pasta is not the end of the world, in my opinion. And then let's see. Should we eat the calories we burn? No. So we're not logging our calories into MyFitnessPal, or if you use like a Fitbit or whatever, you're not making up for the calories you burn, because technically that will be adjusted in your activity level. So you put lightly active, and so MyFitnessPal will compensate for that. All right. Let me see what other questions I have here. And then I think I got most of them. And then another thing I wanted to make note of is we're starting out with lightly active for activity level. Once again, we're kind of doing a trial week for the first week or two. So see how you feel that first week. If you feel like you need more calories and you're always hungry, then I want you to bump it up to active, okay? So very important to take note of that. And you can keep me in the loop and ask me, you know, like, okay, I'm feeling hungry. I feel like I need more calories. That's totally fine. Everyone's a little different. So start with lightly active, see how that goes for the first week. And then if you need to tweak it, feel free to go up to active. When will I be posting the workouts? I'll be posting them tomorrow. So you can look at them. I'll post them tomorrow morning. So you can take a look at them and let me know if you have any questions. And let me just make sure I got all the questions here. Feel free to type any other questions you have in the comment box. Doesn't look like we have any other questions. So we'll start to wrap up there. If you guys think of anything else, feel free to post in our Facebook group on the main wall, because I can assure you that your question is likely someone else's question. So feel free to post in the main group if you think of anything else to ask. I'm so excited. I know you might be feeling a little bit overwhelmed right now, but I promise you it will come a lot more naturally as we get going with things. And ultimately, my goal by the end of the program is that you won't have to track everything for the rest of your life, because trust me, it's a lot of work and I get it. And so my hope is that by tracking things, you'll be more aware of what you're putting in your body and why you're fueling your body the way you are to get maximum results. And so that is my hope. So don't feel like you have to track forever and ever to get good results. If we do body combat or body step, should we do those on full body days? Yes. Good question. Body combat or body step are great for full body days. I wouldn't do those on feast days unless you do them with your feast day workout, if that makes sense. But they're perfect for like a regular calorie day. Sarah says, okay, gotta ask, what about wine? So that would go with that 10% that I talked about earlier. So I'm kind of promoting a 90-10 balance for this group. And so yeah, if you want the occasional glass of wine, that would be your 10%, but you'll want to fit it into your macros. So wine is a little bit, it's a little bit higher not high in carbs, but it has carbs in it. So you'll want to factor that into your calories and carb count. But we don't want it like a daily thing, like maybe once a week is good. So yeah, good question. All right, anything else? All right, Cool, you guys. All right. Well, it was fun chatting. Like I said, I'm super pumped. I'll post the workouts tomorrow morning. And if you think of anything else, feel free to post in the group. So make sure you get that grocery shopping done this week so you have your fridge and pantry stocked full of healthy options. All right. All right. Okay. We'll talk to you guys later and have a wonderful rest of your day.